Hello again and welcome back. This is a video review for um, Skull and Shackles, the adventure path with Pathfinder. And to kind of get into this AP, you're going to find that it's about piracy, sailing on the high seas, and a big sandbox of exploration. Just depends if you choose this adventure path. You just want to make sure if your players that the role of a pirate is something that they would want to do, um, using such reference themes like Pirates of the Caribbean movies and such, as sort of a guideline of what they can expect and sort of the roles that they would have to fit into the game. So it just depends if they're up for it, because it's a very strong theme and it's featured primarily throughout this adventure path. This does come with quite a few challenges. You want to make sure when you're running this with your group that they can handle subsystems, that they are willing to do things outside of their player character. As far as filling out a ship sheet, it's just like a character sheet, but it has ship stats. You want to make sure that they're comfortable with learning a system of a new set of mechanics for ship-to-ship combat, otherwise known as Naval Combat. There's a lot of new content, additional features, such as siege engines, maneuvers upon the water with your sailing checks, boarding actions, ramming. There's hit points and such in terms of your ship or the other person's ship being damaged. There's calculations needed for those, such as the sails that could affect propulsion. There's just a slew of just many different things that you can buy for modifications to your ship that they will have to resource, identify with, and sort of determine with the group what things they want to buy, given the available money at hand, such as modifications to like the ship itself with ramming. Let me see if I can pull up a list here of things. Yeah, it talks about damaging the ship, repairing the ship, the various amounts of siege engines that you can buy, and a certain amount that you can have depending on the size of your ship. There's all different types of ships with different stats. There's a lot of statistical information here, but as far as like the upgrading stuff, armor plating, additional crews, increased cargo capacity, magically treated hulls, extended keel, glass bottom, figurehead, movable deck, sturdy hull, rapid deploy sail. So there's just a lot of modifications that you can make, but you'll use that with your ship sheet. They even provide ship counters, things that you can print off and make for like paper tokens for your maps. You can also look at one of my videos for the crafting, where you can make a pirate ship just using foam board and some dowels. Pretty quick and fast to do. I even made like 2 or 3 of them. So otherwise, you can buy the map tiles and such through Paizo, which feature different types of ships. One would be the Wormwood, and then there's like a dinghy and a couple other different things that they have. Sailing ships and such. But in the AP, there are a lot of maps. One really nice big map featuring the entire area known as the Shackles, where piracy is sort of a free reign. Pirate lords sort of kind of control the certain sectors or parts of the sea, but really you can build up your reputation through your sort of panache with your skills at piracy. But how this whole AP comes together, you're basically drugged and wind up on a ship, and you're forced into the crew with your other player characters, whether you kind of know them. It's pretty much kind of assumed that you're just different people from different parts of the area that all sort of happen to congregate around this one place, and were captured, and now you've been press ganged into the crew. And that brings a very unique start to the adventure path. It's not just, oh no, the town's in trouble, form your adventurers and go investigate. This is sort of a conflict that happens right away, and sort of you don't have to justify why you're this race and why you're in this town. So you could just been captured from any location Galarian, and then brought here for this press game crew, which is kind of nice. You don't have to go with a whole lot of explanations on that. But it brings about a lot of different features to bring your group together, where they have jobs that they have to perform, otherwise they'll get piratical punishments. One of the sort of devastating ones is the key hauling, but it could be other different things that happen, like getting a lash and such, having to be put into a sweat box. So they get these different jobs based on what the officers assume that they can do, or witness that they do. They're in their first trial to see if they are sea worthy. So they can find themselves different places on the ship doing different things, being like the cook's assistant to being like a runner across the ship. And what's nice is there's a list that shows what you can do. It's not just the same job every day. There's a random table, and then they'll tell you for this specific day you have to go do this. And it's not just, okay, you do your job, that's it. You have to make a roll for that too. So you get to perform the job, roll to see if you do the job well. If you don't, of course, that just adds more of a role-playing sort of dialogue moment there, to where you can bring about some of the interactions with the NPCs and with the player characters. But this very first book is going to be interaction involved. It's going to be very heavy dialogue. There's going to be tons of tables for random things that happen, even though you're going to be, the module, or AP I should say, is going to be set up into different events that happen. Day 1 or between day 4 and day 6, these events happen, and you just run with those. So there's a progressive story of events that happen, and during that time it really gives the player characters the chance to try and fit in with the group, find out who they like, who they don't like, see who they can persuade, see how they can kind of at one point finally eventually be able to take over the ship. So there's lots of different elements that really make the player characters interact with each other, and those in the environment. It forces a lot of people, even like some player characters who may kind of sit back. If you have any players that kind of don't really get too involved, this will get them involved. So if you're looking for an AP that does that, this really makes the player characters kind of get into like a team-based scenario where they have to try and figure out how they go about their daily task. How do they improve their life? How do they improve the situation that they find themselves violently thrust in? So yeah, during the one half of the AP, you're going to be doing a lot of different stuff on the ship. Eventually, your worth is going to be proven, and the need for you is going to be much stronger. And during that time, you can decide whether you want to do some espionage on the ship, try to stage some sort of a coup. I mean, you can. There's a lot of free reign where, of course, there's consequences, but all sorts of actions are left up to you. You want to try and stay away from getting punished too much, because eventually it will lead to your death by getting keyhauled. But if you can do things in the shadows when you're sort of, or maybe at night when the time for rest is there, you can have your moments to even potentially kill a few people. But you'll quickly find out that there are some people who are strongly against you and want to kill you as well. But yeah, this is very story driven, very dialogue heavy. And then in the last half of this AP of just of book 1, you'll find that you find yourselves on an island, and gives you that island exploration, and you venture out and get to collect resources and make some discoveries. And there's a really nice theme of monsters that you encounter, a very unique place that you traveled to on this island, sort of this grotto area. And the encounters, the environmental encounters are really, really great for this. Particularly with getting into sort of this cave-like area on the shore's edge, with the rising of the tide, the lowering of it and such, and just the essence of a time frame sort of a thing is there. But there's some very unique characters, some very evil people that have a really unique story to them. But yeah, that's just a little bit there about the first book. Kind of going all over the place here. Just trying to see if there's anything else I could tell you about this. As a GM, you're probably going to want to familiarize yourself with the rules that the players will have to follow as well, being ship-to-ship combat and such. Pirate slang, the way you would talk. If you like to do some impersonations and such, you may want to study up on some of the terminology. There you go. And just the way you would talk to them. But eventually, when the players do become in charge, as you're nearing the conclusion of book 1 and going off into book 2, you'll see that they'll need to pick some roles. Who's going to be a captain, who's going to be a quartermaster, who's going to be the first officer, who's going to be the cook. So there's a lot of nice features with that. Hopefully your players don't fight amongst themselves, because I ran a local group on this. Unfortunately, they weren't a very good group, but unfortunately there wasn't another group available at the time to kind of run this. But I stressed the overwhelming need to make sure that they can handle subsystems, that they can play well together, and hopefully they can pick their roles that they want to be. Eventually, you're probably going to hear that everyone wants to be a captain, everyone wants to have their own ship. But as far as with the AP, as far as just going back onto like more GM responsibilities and such, probably want to get like a spreadsheet, some sort of Excel format there, of all the different NPCs that they're going to encounter on the ship. There's so many people that are needed to just even run the ship to keep it operational. You can't really escape having a big block of NPCs there. It's needed, it's expected. So you have around 20 or more than 20 NPCs there. You know, of course, they got their names, what type of race they are. So if you want to kind of make like a spreadsheet with that, listen to what their job is, what their initial attitude is toward the PCs, and any other stats you want to have, just so it's on hand and ready. Maybe just a brief description of who they are. That might help you as far as, you know, not having to go through and page flip constantly. Maybe make a list of all the officers and who they are, because you're going to be swapping back dialogues like crazy, because everyone's going to be wanting to speak, wanting to do something, so you could have them going off in different areas. So, but try and avoid that whole page flipping, just have everything on one sheet. I would even say that as well with the jobs. Like with the rigger, there's different tasks that he would have. The swab, you can, you know, you have all your result tables right there in the Excel format if you want. The cook's task, even like the ship actions for like during the daytime, you can have that up there. So, just some sort of one sheet, sort of with information on there, will really help. Even with like weather, if you want to throw like a couple little side notes with seasickness and such, or with the rum rations, you can do that. But yeah, this is a very good AP. Just want to make sure that you're comfortable, you and the players, with this piracy theme. And in terms of piracy, what kind of alignments do you see them, or will they sort of decide upon? Having a paladin in the group would not go well. They're likely to be killed just due to their inability to shut up, versus a largely one-sided, sort of opinionated group. Her ideals or his ideals and such won't be well received. So, so do you have most of your group as a neutral sort of axis of alignments there? That's probably where you want to be around, so that you can have moments to incorporate some good elements there, and then necessary paths leading to darkness, deception, and such. Or you can just make this more of a, if they want to shift more of their alliance over to evil nature, you can do that as well. Since that whole piracy there, the pirateer sort of preying upon, that might go well as well. The only problem I have with evil alignments, well, as far as in a player's regard, is that usually when you're evil, you commit these evil acts and such, you tend to feel bad about it. It's kind of hard to immerse yourself into that character, to connect with that, especially depending on how gruesome the acts become. You may have a failure to connect with that character. It's a challenge. It can be fun, but if you take your character seriously, and some of your own self is put into that, that could be a challenge. So I would suggest something along the neutral sort of realm there for alignments, so that they can go back and forth. Hence, they get more options to consider with different things that they happen to encounter with people, places, moral choices, morale choices. So, There's some really great maps. I know I said that already. The Grindylows is a really great monster in here. It's featured quite a bit. With the island exploration, you can kind of put in like a little bit of a Lost sort of a theme to it if you want, to add some intrigue, some depth there, have them guessing. Riptide Cove is what I was talking about with the unique cave area. It's just a really great map. There's a couple unique villains on the island, but of course you got these unique villains on the ship as well. That's all I can really talk about. Piratical weapons, there's some new things to see here. And what can you look forward to with the rest of the books, I guess, would be the final closer to this video. You get this huge map to explore. It's completely sandboxed. Once they take control of the ship, they can go anywhere they want. Really, you can run with this. They provide some low-level ocean encounters. Eventually, you want to steer them towards, you know, getting their ship squibbed and refitting it, and the sort of thriving points in the next books is going to be they become pirates, and they want to build their renown, their infamy, their reputations by capturing other ships, scuttling them, or taking them back to be squibbed out or whatever, sold. You can take prisoners and ransom them back to their families back at home. Cargoes that you find in the other ship's holds, that brings about some unique opportunities to sell some things. So there's just a lot of exploration here. There's a huge map that they provide. Lastly, I would probably want to talk about here is now the subsystem. It's quite a challenge to understand the ship-to-ship combat rules. The piezo forms, a lot of people are very upset with them. I've tried it out, and it's a lot of things to digest. Especially the problem I had was the players who lacked the willness to understand them. Out of the 4 or 5 people I had, only one person really read it, and even then, they didn't really try to explain it to everyone. No one wanted to learn it, so I really was unable to feature it. And really, if you can't run it, what's the point of having the entire rest of the AP, other than just to fudge the unique sequences of the combat on the water, and with the plunder and infamy and all that. I mean, what's the point? If they don't want to understand it, I wouldn't run it. And that's exactly what I did. I had to close out the game. I had to stop it and end the group because it wasn't going to work. At that point, they were just too selfish, and they just expected the GM to do everything for them, even their own player resources. So make sure that they want to learn the subsystem. And you need every person in your group to do it, because it's going to come to their turn. They're going to have to decide upon what they want to do, whether they're crewing some sort of siege engine to what they want to target on the ship, knowing how many hit points it'll have, or what would be the thing to stop the propulsion, the maneuvers of the ship to try and cut through the waves and outmaneuver the other ship. So you really want them to know all that. They'll have to determine what sort of ship modifications they want to make. And There's a small little subsystem here talking about plunder and infamy, where you'll win plunder, basically the cargo and such, and there's a value to it that can be sold for gold pieces that help you increase your infamy score. And it talks about how much you can sell depending on the size of the community and what their base sale for would be in the maximum amount for the sale. There's some reputations to build, and through that you can garnish or accumulate disrepute. But infamy is like your title, and it can grant you certain things within the game. Impositions, they talk about that, where you can do unique features, such as with your ship. So, and they give a little bit of information on the roles of a pirate, as far as what the boatswain is, what the cabin boy is. So you don't have to worry about having to sort of go somewhere else to learn what these things are. The first book, in the back of the book, kind of goes over all that with you. The piratical punishments, the ship modifications, the pirate entertainment. But yeah, there's a lot to read up on for you and the player. So just make sure, once again, I said it, but I'm going to stress it so many times, you got to make sure that everyone is up for this. So, and that they're going to enjoy that kind of a theme throughout the rest of the book. Because that's all it is, really. Eventually it's a revenge thing where you get back at the person, and then later on there's some political intrigue and some things that you learn to where you can kind of save the sort of area, the life that you've come to sort of thrive in, whether you want to protect that or not. But really the main focus is just plunder on the high seas. It's piracy. So just make sure all of that is kind of known to the players who voice their votes for this. It's a really good adventure path. The next couple books, I've gotten up to number, let me see here, which one did I get up to? I finished book 3, so I got about halfway through, and the books do get better and better. You can even introduce firearms in this, and the main bad guy at the end is the whole AP line here. The bad guy is a gunslinger, so gunslingers would do well in this game as well. So they don't feature a whole lot of firearms that you can get, but there's a couple here and there that you can grab. There's some very unique magical items, more so in book 2 or book 3, that are really good. So that's all I got for this video. Any questions, comments, let me know. If there's anything you want to talk about specific in this book, I'd be happy to do so. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.